Hi.
Hi, welcome back, everyone. Hi, Brooke. Hi, audience. We are autofocused once again, finally, sort of. We're going to talk cameras, and it took us a few minutes to set this up because cameras were wonky.
It did. Hence, we had one
One of those.
Yes, every once in a while they need to be it's basically hard like a hard reset. Basically, we have to do a factory reset on the cameras because they start blinking yellow. They won't connect to the internet. They won't do anything. So
we use these cameras pretty hard.
We do use them hard. Yes,
they do need it. It's not unlike you kind of need to restart your computer every once in a while. Mm-hmm. They just decide we're done. We'd like to be fresh.
We do. We need so we'll actually do a factory reset. So we had to do a factory reset, and now here we are.
We're ready. Now we're talking about the factory reset on the Logitech Mevo. The starts. That's right. Which is the cameras we've been using for quite some time now. Mm-hmm. The very early days, we actually tried GoPros, but this is a 1080p camera, Logitech built, pretty popular, about $400. Yeah. But it's only a 1080p.
Yes.
Good. So.
Which is perfectly fine for anything that you need, because most things, especially on the internet, they do not go above 1080. And so
you're not going to watch anything over 1080.
Yeah, especially for what we're doing, which is mostly like publishing your podcasts and your videos on YouTube and things like that. 1080 is all you need. So it's not like moving up to 4K is it's not like it is you're behind the times if you're using 1080. If that's where your price point is, it's totally fine. But
since we're hardcore professional, really we are.
Yes.
I mean, we have our own podcast and everything, but
that makes us legit.
We are looking at upgrading to the 4K cameras. 4K.
We are upgrading.
4K. Yeah, looking at it. We've basically decided we're pulling that trigger.
Yes.
So that means a pretty big expense. Obviously, these are $1,000, a little more. Mm-hmm. Plus, you got to buy the lenses.
Yep. So about $1,300 for all that. 13, 14.
About 4 times the price of this for 4 times the resolution, roughly.
Well, you get the 4K, but not only do you get 4K as your the sensor, but you also get the optical zoom instead of a digital zoom. And so that is really one of the main advantages and what kind of kicked us into high gear to make it faster than slower. So we basically, we knew that we wanted a crisper image, and we wanted to be able to zoom in and out, again, because like we're trying to move cameras. If you see it set up, we'll throw a setup of what the studio looks like up, as a cover. Well, like you'll see
B-roll behind us as we're talking about this. This 4K camera looks like.
Well, it's more like this is what our studio looks like, and so you can see that the cameras are in the way, because when you have the 1080s and the digital zoom, it doesn't zoom very well. Like it's like it will zoom, but like you can really see like it'll really make it pixelated. When you have an optical zoom, the zoom is happening in the glass, and so it's a lot crisper, and so it doesn't look pixelated. And so that's like the main reason why we are switching to 4K cameras, because we want the optical zoom.
And there's not really anything optical zoom available in 1080.
These cameras go in 1080.
You film in 1080 with these. You don't want to pay for the 4K anyway.
But like most cameras that are coming out. Another thing that we do is our podcasts. Some of our clients will go up to 60 minutes. And so you need to have a camera that will long record for 60 minutes without the shutter or anything else that you need to close. So a lot of the DSLRs that you have out there, or even mirrorless cameras, they will only still film for like 20-minute segments. And so that's not, that does not conducive what we want to do. So it's not what we want to do. We want to make sure that this camera, you can hit record and it will just record nonstop for as long as you want.
Now, file sizes are also quite a bit bigger though. So on the back end, you better have the horsepower to support moving these files around.
Yes.
That's storage space. That's internet speeds.
Those Google Drives.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pay for Google Drives.
And this was before either of our times, but even before we had the starts, a very small prototype studio we had, they were running GoPro cameras, I believe Hero 3s.
Yeah, Hero 3s or 4.
And they had a couple of problems with that. One, they were overheating some because they weren't really designed to be a very static setup like that. But two, they would automatically restart a new file every 17 minutes or so, and it made file management an absolute nightmare.
Well, not like that, but editing, because they just have to you have to stitch them together in the editing process, and I think that just adds all this extra time to it. What's great about these is that you don't have to.
Well, we're focused right now on the A/B testing we've done here. Logitech Mevo Core, which is the 4K standard from Logitech, and the Blackmagic Micro.
Yep. This is the Micro Studio Camera G2. So I guess it's the generation 2. So we wanted to test basically which one works out the best for what we're doing. So background, what we're doing. We're trying to streamline the process. So we're basically, we want to have the video, we have our audio from our mics, which goes into a roadcaster. We have the video, which comes from right now it's a Mevo Start, and we want them to come. We want everything to converge into one file. So when we send over the file to the editors, the audio and video are already synced. And then we want to be sure that we record all 4 angles at once. And then we also have made it to where we want to eventually move into live streaming. So we want to have the live stream capability, even though we're not ready to do that yet. And so what we've learned is that, so when we are testing all of this, we want to test which camera, which one of these is the best camera. And so that is the preface of what this whole, our testing is. And so when we are testing, we're testing it as hardwiring everything in, versus using things on the Ethernet or NDI. And we're also testing just what has, what is the easiest to use. And that's another thing, is that all of our studios, we want to make it so easy that the people setting up the studio don't have to have any kind of technical background. We just give them step by step what they need to do. And so all of the technical stuff is set up beforehand. And so all they need to do is really come in, tweak it, and then hit record. And that's what we're trying to do here at the studio.
And we've been looking at the quality of the lenses you can get. We'll go into that again in another session, but short version, all these lenses are pretty much equal.
Yeah, I haven't really seen much.
We're also looking at placement, because you do have the zoom now. You have a wider field possibility than the Starts had. So we're looking at even placing them in different spots around the studio. Where the camera I'm looking at now is, there will not be a 4K camera. They'll be off against the walls.
Yeah, so basically the 4K, because when you have that optical zoom, we can zoom in. We'll be able to get the cameras off the table and out of the view of the wide angle, and you'll be able to use them. They're going to be completely out of the shot. So it's going to be more like a traditional set. Yeah, so that's what we're trying to do. Both cameras can do that, and they look great. And you can zoom in, and you can, they look sharp. They've got great optical zooms, and both of them are great when it comes to things like that.
So how do we choose between them? You did mention there is a price difference. It's all of $4.
This one is $4 cheap.
Yes.
So
price point is not a big deal.
No, it is not a big deal.
What differentiates the two then? How did we decide to go with?
Yeah. So we've been using Mevo obviously since the beginning, since I started in August, and so I was well adapted to how the Mevo apps and everything works. And so to use the Mevo, you have to have the apps. You can have.
That's been true. That's been true with the 1080 caps too.
Yeah. With Mevo, you basically have to operate it through an app. And which means that, and we've been operating it through an iPad, which is on the wireless. And so you have to have a wireless connection to talk to these cameras. And to get into the cameras, change the settings, tweak the settings, do the zoom, do the focus, do all these extra steps. You have to have the app, and it has to be done through the app. And even when I noticed with the cores, and correct me if I'm wrong, Logitech, but I didn't see that you could get into the multicam app and mess with the focus and with the zoom. You could only do that in the regular Mevo app. So which means using the system that we had now, you would have to not only get into one app but 2 apps. And
same company,
but different apps. Yeah. And so both have their advantages, but at the same time, we're going for ease of use here. So already that was kind of but I already knew how to use the apps, so it wasn't that big a deal. I could figure it out. I'm okay, people can probably do this. If you do it enough, you'll figure it out. That's just what the that's just what the technology was, right?
Now we're talking about using these in fairly professional, fairly technical manner, some specialized tweak. But if you're into a 4K camera, you're into basically an app-based adjustment of some sort, even if you're only doing a very basic adjustment. So if you're going to use the camera for something relatively simple, you still got to use that.
Yeah, on the Mevo and on the core, you have to use the app to do it. To like see what the angle is. There's nowhere to plug a viewfinder in. Like you have the app. And so
okay, let's talk.
What I noticed with the Blackmagic is so I was warned ahead of time that Blackmagic has a bit of a learning curve, and that they are not as it's not, you can't just pick up the camera and it's not just going to be like every other camera that you've ever touched.
Not intuitive.
It's not intuitive. And so but they said once you figure out the way that Blackmagic does it, you'll love them. And so I was like,
that happened about a week ago, right?
Yeah, it took me a week so to figure this out. And so okay, I just want to preface this. I literally have been using cameras since before digital was a thing. Cameras have not really changed. My first camera was a Pentax K1000. And so like with
classic dinosaur, depending.
It is a dinosaur. Yeah. I can literally use a camera. Like I could like roll my own film, develop my own film.
And it's
enlarge it in its room.
Not just stills. You know, we claim to be experts here. She has a master's degree in this stuff.
Oh, well, I have a master's degree in film. But yeah, so I was like, I can usually, with people hand me their camera, I can figure it out because I understand the basics.
First couple of days with this Blackmagic?
Oh, no.
No, you were struggling.
I didn't want to throw it. I wanted to throw it against the wall, but it was very expensive. So, thanks to Reddit and thanks to Blackmagic, therefore, I figured out, I was like, they need to just have a glossary somewhere where it's like ISO means this, aperture means this, like shutter speed was common, but like,
what about autofocus?
The autofocus one was. So what we did with this thing is, for our use, so there's like a million uses you can use with this thing. So for our use, we plugged this camera in through HDMI into the MIDI switcher. It's the ATEM Mini ISO switcher. And it's also Blackmagic, which is why I thought, we'll pair Blackmagic with Blackmagic. There's going to be all these extra features. And there are, once you figure it out. So I basically, like, once I plugged it in, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to go find the ISO. And I was like, how do you change the ISO? And there was nothing. And so I was, basically, thank you to Reddit and their forum. It's actually called gain. So ISO means gain in Blackmagic. So once you figure that out, So we're just picking the dinosaur terms you and I know and replacing them with different terms. Different terms. Different term. And it kind of makes sense. I was like, sure, why not? So, but it does. So like, basically it's like you're making it more sensitive to light. So it makes the light better. Sure. Then I was like, how do you focus this thing? And every time it was plugged into the switcher, like if it wasn't plugged into the switcher, I could focus it just fine with like the manual focus ring. But the second it was plugged into the switcher, like the focus wouldn't do anything anymore, and it was driving me crazy. And I couldn't figure it out. And then they're like, in your like the software center for the switcher, there's a button, and it's like in the lower right hand corner, so like a camera, and you can't see it. And I'm going to put a picture up here for you guys because it took me probably 48 hours to find it. But you hit the button, and there's an A on it for auto, but there is an F for focus. But that's what it is. It's autofocus. Oh yeah, MF AF is what the cameras used to say. Yeah. And they still do. The lens still says it, but still, like it's a F, but it just says A. Let's jump in for a minute though. You've referred to the switcher several times. The switcher is like a mini editor. You think of it as the roadcaster on our audio. It's our mixer. Is a switcher something like the mixer for the video? It's like a hub. Yeah, okay. It's a hub for all the cameras that are coming in. So all the feed from the cameras is coming in. And one of the things we realized is that like hardwiring things is so much more reliable than relying on like even the Ethernet or the wireless for sure. So we ran into issues with that with the wireless. Is the switcher something you were using with the core? Mm-hmm. So the core has an HDMI output. And so you can use the core with the switcher. And so that's one of the advantages of the core versus the start. The start does not have HDMI. And so you have to do like all these other configurations to get it in there. It's really complicated. So you can use it into the switcher, but what's great about the Blackmagic is that when you plug a Blackmagic into a Blackmagic, there's extra features. And so I can control the zoom on the switcher. I can control the focus. I can control the color. Like you can really, there's a lot more you can do with the settings in the Blackmagic than you can with the core, at least through the switcher.
And we'll go into the switcher in another episode, but obviously there are several other companies that make them too. You could pair a Blackmagic camera with another company switcher, you said, and you'll lose some certain functionalities, but you don't have to.
I haven't done that yet, but yeah.
You don't necessarily have to match your switcher brand to your camera brand, but there are probably advantages too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, as long as you have, it's like, if your camera has HDMI out, then you'll be fine. This camera, it has some other things for SDI, and there's other ways to plug things in. The core has HDMI, and that's basically it. So this one has a couple more settings too, where you can get a little more technical with it. But we're really going, again, ease of use, studio, where it doesn't feel like the cameras are in your face. And that's why we went with the smaller cameras for each one. But yeah, like the Blackmagic with the Blackmagic switcher does work really, really well. I do think that this camera has a lot. You can actually adjust and fine tune the color.
More so than you can get.
Yeah, that one is just like you pick like this setting or this setting, and there's nothing in between. And like what's great about the Blackmagic is you can really you can get all in between for everything. You can fix the color, you can fix your ISO, you can fix the shutter, you can do. And this one does do better. I read that it does better in low light, which is what we need because we have a dungeon in here. But these do a lot better in the low light, and so you really you're going to see the difference.
So core functionality, the availability and quality of the lens is pretty similar between them. But for our use here in the studio, it's the adaptability and the ability to tweak and hone each setting where the core doesn't necessarily have quite that adaptability.
Yeah, and the
$400 more expensive.
Yeah, but it was like the core didn't have autofocus either, so you have to really rely on the person running the apps to be able to see it. And another thing I noticed too is on the app, like they don't use the highest quality feed into the app, and so sometimes even the feed coming in isn't as sharp as like a usual feed. It's like it looks in post. So like when you record to the SD card and you see it, it's a lot sharper than what it appears like on the app. So that again makes the focus hard. So it's like it's very interesting. This one is just like you can tell it's very like there's a lot you can do. There's a lot more customization.
So not a bad product, but for our use, there's a lot more to this one that we can appreciate for essentially the same price.
Yep. No, the core is great. I've been using the quirks since we got here in August. We've been testing.
It's better than anything for 4K.
Yeah, and it's been great, and I really enjoy like their products. But I really do feel like for ease of use and as when we were basically setting up a studio and asking people with no technical background to come and set up this camera. After we've done the heavy work for them, this is really easy. All they have to do is hit like a button and then do like a custom zoom. And then all they're doing is just tweaking the angle, and then you just hit.
So with the caveat that you will hit it for the first 48 to 72 hours until you
we should do a vlog. We should do something where it's like the glossary, where it just means, because like instead of aperture, it just says open.
X means Y.
Yeah. And you're like, open. I get it, because like it's the aperture opening and closing, but the autofocus. Autofocus is AF, not A. A means aperture.
Okay.
Yeah.
A means aperture. And
I assume it's not gain, but it's fine. It's fine. But I'm a founder as well. Like I do agree. And I do like anybody that's like multiple people told me there is a learning curve. There is a learning curve. Once you figure it out, it's totally worth it.
Okay. So we'll say Blackmagic wins.
I say yes, yeah.
Of course, not a bad product, but we like the additional features we're getting out of the bike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good deal. Well, and we're going to sign off here so that Brooke can go back and fight with new technology again because we just got her new computer and now she's back on a Mac again.
I love Macs. I know. And so, yeah, we've been testing PC as well, but we will save that for a whole other podcast.
Yes, we will. Until then, this has been Autofocus. I'm Dan Kraft.
And I'm Brooke Galligan.
We'll see you next time.